Hi, and welcome to Your Inside Power. My name is Patricia Stepler, and I am your host for this episode. We are going to continue talking about goal setting. And one of the things that's really important when you are achieving a goal is to have gratitude. Now, in the last episode, I talked about how there is a certain progression that goes into achieving goals. And if you miss any of the steps, which 97% of people do, you won't necessarily reach your goal. Now, can you reach a goal? Yes. A lot of times it's by accident because somewhere along the way you were following the steps unconsciously or unaware. And what I want you to do is to become aware so that you can make sure that you achieve your goals over and over again. So one of the key things we need to talk about, and that is gratitude. Now, we have to be grateful for the things that we have in order to keep going on and looking for more to achieve. And one of the things we have to realize is that you can be grateful for something that has not appeared in your life yet. So you can be grateful for that goal that you have that hasn't come into your life, but yet you know that's what you want. So I want you to keep in mind that there's this like pendulum swinging, and there's negative and positive, and it's going to go back and forth. I don't know of anybody that's 100% positive all the time because things happen. Life happens. What you have to do is when you're swinging towards that negative, what can I do to shift it back to the positive? So we always have to be looking at what we can do because and think of it as life is really great right now. What can I do to make it better? How can you increase things so that you now have a much better life? And what we realize is that oftentimes people tend to reject the truth of a situation. So we want to make sure that you're not rejecting any part of the truth. If you can see it in your mind, you can hold it in your hand. Now, sometimes people doubt that they can achieve what idea comes in their mind. And that's only because of all the limiting beliefs that you have. And so what we have to do is to learn how to overcome those limiting beliefs. And as we overcome those limiting beliefs, we'll start to realize we have more talent and ability inside of us than we ever realized. And so what you need to do is to, when you have an idea, if it's exciting to you and that's something you'd really like to have or like to achieve, then instead of dismissing it as thinking you're not capable, start looking at ways that you can do it and what tools and resources you may have or may need to increase your ability to have that. So our responsibility, once you learn this information, is to share with others. And that's what I'm doing with you today. I was so grateful to Paula and her team for coming up with this idea of a TV show and coming up with this group, this Win-Win Women Network, because now I can share this with you and then you can go and you can share with others. So we have to start where we're at and then move forward so that we can help others. And gratitude is so important that we have to realize that, when we feel like something's going wrong, we're just in a bad vibration and we need to shift out of that vibration. You see, there's different waves of vibrations, waves of frequency. And when you feel bad, you need to figure out what can I do to change that? And you need to be in harmony with the good that you desire. And the universe has to be in harmony with the good that you desire. So how do you be in harmony? It feels right. You see, you have to become so in tune to how you're feeling that you start to look at that as a starting point. So when you're feeling good, you're in a good vibration. When you're feeling bad, you're in a negative vibration. So be very aware of how you're feeling all through the day. When things happen, how does it make you feel? And that feeling is what you need to start to capitalize on and to be in tune with. Because when you're in harmony with yourself and with your harmony with the universe, things are going to start moving better. And when you're not in harmony, what can you do? What things can you do to shift your feelings so that you end up in a better vibration. And that's one of the things we need to start doing. So sometimes it can be, a book you want to read, a piece of music you want to listen to, a meditation. Sometimes you might not really want to do any of those because you're in such a bad vibration. You want to just wallow in it for a bit. Those are the times you really need to get out of it the most. So find something that you can do that's going to make you feel better and make you move towards your goal. So gratitude is one of those things that you can really do. Write down things that you're grateful for, things that are in your life that you're grateful for, things that maybe are things that you want to have in your life that you're grateful for because they are coming and they will be in your life. But we have to figure out what it is that we can shift that vibration. So gratitude is really a powerhouse because when you're grateful, then you're connected with that higher power. Now, what happens is a lot of times people achieve a goal and then they just dismiss that higher power and they break away from it. It's the worst thing you could do. Always be grateful for what you have. Be grateful for the things that you have in your life and the things you're about to have in your life. Keep this in mind. Here's a quote I got from somebody, and it says, I am not what has happened to me. I am what I choose to become. Listen again. I am not what has happened to me. In other words, you are not the sum of all the events and all the things that have happened to you. You have a choice. That's one of the great gifts we have been given as human beings. We've been given the right to choose. And so we have a choice as to what we become, even in the darkest, deepest, horrible events. We have a choice. We have like Victor Frankl, who was he was in a concentration camp in Nazi Germany. He chose to not allow the Nazis to control his thinking and to control his mind. And he made it through the concentration camps. He was released. He was, became very famous, really wrote books and so on about his experience. But he made a choice that his mind was his own. And the only person that could control his mind was him. You see, we think about, people being brainwashed and controlled, but they've allowed that to happen. And so you need to find a way to stay in control of who you want to be and who you choose to be. Now, if you are being, brainwashed, how can you counteract that? How can you stay strong enough to decide who you want to be? So keep in mind that your DNA, your spiritual DNA, is perfect. It's perfect. What happens is we chip away at it with every experience and every negative experience that happens to us. And that's when we start allowing those limiting beliefs to come in. So it's not who you are that holds you back. It's who you think you're not. Sandy Gallagher said that. She's president and CEO of the Proctor Gallagher Institute. It's not who you are that holds you back. It's who you think you're not. We always think somebody else can do things we can't do. Why do we do that? I don't know. It's just human nature. But we get an idea and we think, well, so-and-so, they can accomplish that, but I couldn't possibly. Or we go and we watch somebody perform or watch somebody do something great. And we think, well, they can do it. There's no way I could possibly do that. And so we sell ourselves short a lot. And we have to, decide, is that true or is that not true? Now, in some cases, it may be true. You see somebody who's, I'll just use a female figure skater who's just phenomenal. And you think, I can't do that. Well, is that true? It might be true because you never took a lesson. And maybe you're, to my age, you're like, that's never going to happen. I don't have that kind of athletic talent and so on. But that was my choice, right? Had I had that dream, which I never did, to be a great ice skater, could have I done it? Well, probably. I just wasn't given that dream. That was never my goal. And I think that's where sometimes people get this wrong. I heard a lady one time ask her audience, do you believe you can achieve anything you want to do? And I, of course, raised my hand. Yes, I do believe that. And she said, well, look at me. Do you think I could be a professional baseball player? Well, did she ever want to be a professional baseball player? I doubt it. So I think we have to realize that you can be whatever you want to be, that goal, that gift, that idea that comes into your mind. But like I just said, I love watching female ice skaters. And I marvel at what they can do. I was never anything that I was inspired or had any desire to ever do. So that wasn't a dream of mine. And I probably was not a dream of mine because I didn't have that athletic talent. I didn't have that right body build. I didn't have the desire to practice all the hours that they have to do to become really good. So that's just because there's something out there, it doesn't mean everybody could do everything. We've all been given talents and gifts, and we've all been given different desires. So I believe that you can do anything that you really want to do. It's your choice as to whether you do that or not. So it all becomes part of your awareness. What are you aware of? So we often allow fear to interfere with us. And it's never too late to really figure out who you are. Sometimes we get older and we think, oh, this is all there is to life. No, there isn't. Figure out what it is that you really want to do, what floats your boat, what excites you, and go after it. And when we become aware, we see, and here's this wonderful quote, there is a marvelous inner world that exists within man. And the revelation of such a world enables man to do and to attain and achieve anything he desires within the limits of nature. So that's what it is. That's what awareness is all about, that there is this marvelous inner world inside of us. That's why this is called your inside power. It's inside of us. And with that, we can decide what it is we desire and go after it and achieve it. Now, it doesn't say you'll achieve it tomorrow or next week or even next month or next year, but you can achieve the desires that you have in your heart. And one of the processes is to have gratitude. And when you have that in gratitude, it enables you to start to think about all those wonderful things you could have, because you start looking at the things you already do have and the talents and abilities and the gifts you've already been given. And then you start to look, what else could I do? How much further can I go? And we start to go towards that. So what is it that you want to do? And let that creative spirit flow. And it may take you a week or two or even a month to start to figure out an idea, because we've become so locked in to who we are that we sometimes forget that we have that creative spirit within us. So you need to decide what it is that you want to do and what it is you want to have, and let that creative spirit flow inside of you. And then you need to keep consciously connected, keep connected to that source of gratitude, so that you're always thankful for the things that you have, so you never lose that connection. So this entire process is just a matter of fine-tuning and making mental adjustments in who you are. And that can be summed up with gratitude. So feel when you've got gratitude, you should have that feeling of just how wonderful everything is. If you're not having that feeling of how wonderful thing is, you're not looking at the right gratitude. And, be tuned in so that you have that gratitude coming towards you and you have that grateful feeling. Okay. And that's one of the things you need. We need to stay connected with whatever your higher power is. And we talked about that in the last session. So if you missed that, you might want to go back and review that. But we have to realize that we need to be grateful for what we have. So you have talents inside of you that you haven't even discovered yet. You haven't even discovered them yet. You've got more talent than you'll probably ever discover. What so many people do is they think they only have one talent. They let that define them, their job. They let that job define them as a person. And yet we have so many more things inside of us. So what we have to do is we have to start to let go of that fear that we can't do something, and realize it's never too late to be that person. You know, we look at people like Colonel Sanders, who started his Kentucky Fried Chicken business. I think it was after 65. He had this recipe. He kept trying to get it out there. You know, door after door got shut in his face. Next thing you know, he's got Kentucky Fried Chicken. And we can see those examples time and time again. When I told you about my son, which is in an earlier episode about him getting his full scholarship, took him 6 years. He thought about that for 6 years, from the time he was in 6th grade till the time he was a senior. In high school, he thought about nothing but getting an athletic scholarship, end up with a academic scholarship, but it was a full scholarship that he wanted. And it took 6 years for that to come into being. Now, with him, it was because he had to graduate from high school, right? But it takes time to get those goals. And then you're always tested. Just like my son was tested by his disappointment of not getting on a summer baseball travel team that he thought he needed to be on. And it was a great disappointment to him. And he thought at that moment he had ruined his chances. 6 years, well, 5.5 at that point, 5.5 years he had spent thinking about this college scholarship. And that quick, he thought he had lost it. But you see, it was a test. It was a test. Okay, here's a disappointment, because if you're on this team, see, higher power knew if he was on the team he wanted to be on, he would never get a full scholarship. He had to find a different team. And when he found that different team, that was the one he had to be on to get the full scholarship. But he was so disappointed. Now, a lot of people would have given up at that point. They'd have thought, I'm just not good enough. I can't do it. They didn't like me, blah, blah, blah. Whatever it is, that's what they would think. With him, he was disappointed. That lasted maybe 24 hours. We found him another team. He tried out, he made it. And while he still didn't feel like that was his team, that was the team he had to be on. And you see, I've said this before, Steve Jobs quote, you can't connect the dots going forward. You can only connect the dots going back, looking backwards. So when you look backwards, that event had to happen in order for him to get that scholarship. So we have to let go of that fear and realize who it is that we want to be. So make a decision today that 6 months, a year, 5 years, 10 years, when you look back, you're going to see the time when you decided to be who you really were. And mark this date on the calendar and decide who it is you want to be and what it is you want to do. And allow yourself to connect with that higher power and to feel the gratitude. So one of the things, we don't just pick up ideas, we discover the gifts inside of us. And sometimes it takes us a while to discover those gifts, but they're hardwired to you and to you alone. I know one of the things I think of is that while I played a lot of musical instruments, in fact, I was a musician and a teacher, music teacher, I never felt like I had any art talent because I can't draw. And could I draw if I took time? Of course I could. Not something I have a high priority, but I can arrange flowers. I can see, and do design work in my house and, coordinate that way. That's my artistic gift. Just because I don't particularly enjoy drawing and painting, or I saw the show today on cake decorating, and beautiful cakes, I would not have the patience to sit there and design a cake and spend hours and hours and hours learning all these techniques. Not for me, but for those people who were in that competition, they loved it. And I enjoyed seeing the creations they made out of cakes. So I can enjoy that art by looking at it. And I can enjoy the arts that I like to do and that I feel that I can do. And so we all have different talents. We don't all have the same talents. Can you imagine what kind of world this would be if all of us wanted the same things and we all had the same talents and gifts? I mean, it'd be awful, wouldn't it? If everybody was kind of like a clone of each other. So we all have these different gifts and talents. So you need to dig down deep inside of you and figure out what your purpose is. What is you're supposed to do? Because I believe that you have been sent here with a purpose that only you can accomplish. But you have to figure out what that is. Nobody can tell you what it is. You have to discover it by going deep inside. So what vision do you need and what pieces of the puzzle do you still need in order to accomplish that? That's what you need to figure out with goal setting. And again, goal setting is just an idea. Like you set that great big goal, and then you have some other goals, like, you have maybe a goal for the year. Let's say, because I have a goal for the entire year. And then I'm breaking it down into quarters. What do I need to do in the first quarter, in the second quarter, in the third quarter in order to accomplish that goal? Well, then what do I need to do this month? And what do I need to do this week? And what do I need to do today in order to accomplish the goal? So break it down so you know what it is you have to do every single week in order to accomplish that goal by the end of the year. One of the scariest things you can do is to kind of not plan anything. And then before you know it, in a blink of an eye, June is here. And now you're halfway through the year and you start to panic. And then you start to think, well, I can't reach that goal because you've done little. We won't say nothing, but you've done little to plan. And then by the time summer's over and it's September, now you're really panicked because, again, you're not anywhere close to where that goal is. And then you change your mind. And then you decide, well, I can't accomplish it now. It's too late. And maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But if we think it is, as Henry Ford said, if you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. And so if we think we can't reach it, you're right. You can't. If you think you can, you're right. And so you have to decide by the mental attitude that you have whether you can reach that goal or not. Best thing to do is to not wait. Start out the beginning of the year. What am I going to do? Or the beginning of a quarter, if it's mid-year. Start out with that quarter. What am I going to do? Or if it's, in the middle of a quarter, what can I do that month? Or if it's the middle of a month, what can I do this week so I can get closer to my goal? Map it out. Now, that doesn't mean that your plan is necessarily the best. Again, as I said about my son, he thought he had the perfect plan to get the full scholarship. He did not. He had a plan. And when that plan went south, he had to regroup and make another plan. You see, you don't know. So we don't always know. And so sometimes we get really disappointed when something bad happens, but we have to realize it's not necessarily a bad thing. It might just be that you're not ready. So I want you to keep that in mind. Or you might not be ready for it. You might have other experiences you need first. You might not have the best plan and there's something better out there. So if you look at every disappointment, every discouragement, like it's not the right plan and something else is going to come around, what's it do for your attitude? So you have one discouragement, say, that wasn't what I was after. So just to give you an idea with my son, he's out of school now. He went to grad school and was looking for a new job. And he was like half-heartedly looking because he had a job. He just wasn't sure he wanted to stay there and there wasn't a lot of opportunities. So he was looking for something a little different. And so he had a couple of interviews and they didn't pan out. But you know what? It wasn't the right job. And that's why I kept saying to him, there's probably something better out there. Well, sure enough, his friend turned down one position, but said, I know somebody who would probably really like this. Showed it to my son. My son got super excited about it. He applied for the job. He got the job. And it's so much opportunity for him. And it's not only opportunity for where he's working, but it's opportunity for his future. So sometimes we have to realize that every disappointment is maybe because there's something better out there. Maybe you have a couple things you're looking for, a couple things you're interested in doing. And maybe if you just go to the next opportunity, you're going to have a much more fulfilled life. So I hope this is helpful. Certainly reach out to me. I'd love to talk to you. You can find me on Facebook at Patty Stepler and join my group, Millionaire Mindset. And, connect with me there. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can go to Patricia at Your Dream Power, just like the book says behind me. It says Your Dream Power. And connect with me that way. And when you do, I would be happy to give you a discovery call where we can talk about your goals and look at where you are and where you want to be and how you can get there by using gratitude as well as using the process in these steps that you need to achieve goals. So I want you to have a great day and make it a great year, make it a great month, make it a great week, because every day that you can make better than the day before then becomes a better year. Because if you make every day good, then every week's good, then every month's good, then every quarter's good, and every year's good. So strive to just worry about today and this week. This is Patricia Stepler with Your Inside Power. Be the magic.